So I had a chance to watch David Fincher's new film. And this year, I mean, the films that have come out this year, it seems like every single week we're getting something labeled as a masterpiece. And I mean that in a good way. I mean, this year for film has been absolutely insane. I'm probably going to just keep saying that for every video that I do. And the year's not even over yet. I still haven't had a chance to see Thanksgiving, which I'm seeing this Thursday. Well, I'm excited to see that. And then Saltburn, Napoleon, Poor Things, The Iron Claw, Bike Riders. There's so many good films coming out. And David Fincher is one of my favorite directors working today. He's actually in my top five favorite directors of all time. Now, the interesting thing about David Fincher, and I don't want to label him as a director for hire because I know he's not. I know that he does pick the projects that he wants to do. But it seems like, especially when you look at his career starting off, he really, anything that he grabbed, whether or not it was something that, he conceptualized or something that he chose himself, he really did put his all into it. I mean, if you look at Alien 3, while that's not a lot of people's favorite Alien film, it's still pretty good, I think. I liked it. And I know that there was a bunch of stuff that happened behind the scenes, and he was a director for hire for that film. But if you look at some of the camera techniques and just kind of his filmmaking style really did show off in that film. And then whenever Seven came out, Seven is just masterful. I mean, every film that you see from David Fincher, whether or not you like the story or the subject matter, or if you leave the film feeling something, you're going to get a technically perfect film every single time. And that's what I really do appreciate with David Fincher, because whenever I go into one of his films, I know I'm going to see perfection at some level. Now, that's not me putting him above a bunch of other directors that, are working today. I do think he is one of the best ones, if not the best. But again, anything that he does, it's going to be technically astonishing. That's just what I'm saying. So I was really excited with The Killer, and I had an expectation for watching it. And in a way, for a lot of people that really enjoy David Fincher, this is the first David Fincher film people are watching in almost 10 years since Gone Girl. Because when Mank came out, Mank, there's no other way to put it. It was made for a specific type of audience. It did what it was supposed to do, and I do think it is a perfect film, even story wise. But it was made for people that loved old Hollywood and people that were versed in Citizen Kane. And it was also a very personal film to him because it was written by his late father. But the thing about The Killer is, I feel like The Killer is almost autobiographical, if that makes sense. Like, in a way, well, I was going to compare it to Tarkovsky's The Mirror, but that would just be completely unorthodox, I think, because they're two completely different films. But there's a lot of Fincher in The Killer. Just the killer himself in the film, the main character, Michael Fassbender. The way that he operates and the way that he does things, where he's sort of a perfectionist in his craft, and he's very, very precise with what he does, meticulous. He tends to break the rules as he's, going on through the story and the narrative. And in a way, that's what David Fincher does in this film. And I'll elaborate a little bit. And forgive me if I'm wrong about a few things, but I've done a lot of research on Fincher. I love listening to the man talk. And I feel like I wish he had a master class. I finished David Lynch's master class a couple of days ago. I really wish Fincher had one. But The Killer follows Michael Fassbender, and he's a hitman. And basically, something at the very beginning of the film goes wrong, the hit goes wrong, and he's out to extract revenge. That's what the film is about. It's very straightforward. And in a weird way, and I've heard this comparison be made, it's almost like watching a video game play out where you're watching different levels because it's split up into different chapters and he goes to different locations and he has a different objective at each location. So that's not me just throwing that out there as an example. I've heard that before. And the interesting thing, without spoiling anything, it's kind of funny because it kind of follows a lot of games now where the game is exciting, and then whenever you get to the final boss, it's like, and that's sort of not necessarily what this film does, but it has a very different ending for a film that you would for something like this, and that's all I'm going to say. That's all I was told before I was going into it from all the reviews that I listened to, which this isn't a review, it's a discussion. Haha, I'm going to say that every time, and I appreciated that. La Samurai was a film that I watched before this because I just, I felt like it was appropriate to watch that because Fincher had talked about it. And this film, the direction that it takes is very strange at times. But it is, while I don't think it is David Fincher's best film, I do think it's my number six on Letterboxd, I believe. It's not his best film, but it's better than a lot of films that come out today, if that makes sense. But I had a lot of fun with it. I did. I had a lot of fun with it. And what I mean by, this being almost autobiographical is because Fincher has this way of filmmaking where the camera is locked most of the time. He doesn't do a lot of handheld stuff often, really, or at all. You don't really even see him do a lot of Steadicam stuff. The camera is usually locked on a track, dolly, crane, and that's sort of the way that he does his storytelling. Or he'll do some really cool stuff where he'll do visual effects to alter camera movements. Excuse me. But with this film, he went all out with the Steadicam or the handheld. He used it a lot in this film, more so than I'm used to. And it's almost like he's breaking his own rules. And I liked it. I loved it. And also, he doesn't use anamorphic that much. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but he does not use anamorphic all that much. What he does is, I believe he shoots in 16 by 9. And he'll basically, he can reframe the image as he sees fit because he'll change it to 241 in post, which was something that I did not know. And it's actually a technique that I've used in Pesadilla where, we sort of reframe some stuff. And it's actually very helpful, although I did shoot in anamorphic. But I believe he shot in anamorphic with this film. I don't know if maybe he shot in spherical and then used an anamorphic lens. That could be a possibility. But I think he actually did shoot in anamorphic. And a lot of the driving scenes that you see, there's a lot of visual effects that are in this film that are very impressive, and you don't really take note of them because they're so seamless, and that's just something that I appreciate from him because you're never really distracted while watching one of his films. You just watch it, accept it, and move on. Now, Michael Fassbender, I don't think he's going to be nominated for any Oscars or any awards because his role is very simple, but the way that he does his role is very effective. There's a scene where he's sitting across from Tilda Swinton, and the way that he's looking at her is very eerie. You can tell, like, his motto is show no empathy, or it's something like that, because you get to hear a self-monologue throughout the film, which I thought was great. I know there were some people that had a problem with it, but I enjoyed it. But the way that he just sort of presented himself was eerie at times. It was. And I guess to be in that line of work, you sort of have to execute your job that way. But Tilda Swinton was fantastic. She is in everything. Arliss Howard was great. And overall, it was a good film. I actually thought it was a great film. And I actually saw somewhere where somebody described this film as a student film that was masterfully shot. It was basically a student film shot to perfection or something like that. I don't see that because the dialogue was very crisp. It was very clean. It was a very methodical film and it was very intellectual. So I don't think that. I do think it's simplistic for Fincher, but I don't think it's necessarily simplistic for a film. I feel like it actually has a lot of layers and I feel like there's a lot of stuff that you can take from it. But I did enjoy it a lot and it gets me extremely excited to watch the next Fincher film. I actually would love for him to do Mindhunter, finish Mindhunter. Or I think it would be cool to even get a Mindhunter movie. I think that would be awesome. It's not going to happen, but I'm just going to throw this out there just because it's just something that I think of and I'd really like to just say what's on my mind. I think David Fincher is my top candidate to direct Blood Meridian if that film ever gets made. I really think that he would be the perfect director. If Todd Fields is not going to do it, I would really love to see David Fincher do it. I think he would do it very well. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a thumbs up and maybe subscribe. If you guys want to check out the teaser trailer for Pesadilla, definitely check it out in the description below. Let me know what you thought of the killer down in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time.